He was given land by a stranger, then discovered an entire Chinese family living underground. John had always lived a quiet life. He was the kind of man who appreciated routine, the slow mornings with a cup of tea, the calm walks around his neighborhood, and the occasional weekend spent tinkering in his small backyard garden. His life was ordinary, predictable, and safe. He liked it that way, yet despite the comfort of routine, John often wondered if there was something more out there waiting for him, something unexpected, something that could shake up the monotony of his days. Little did he know that such a moment was about to arrive in the most unusual way. It happened on a sunny afternoon in early spring. John had taken a break from his work and decided to walk along the quiet country road near the edge of town. The road was lined with tall trees, their branches still bare from winter but stretching toward the sky as if reaching for warmth. Birds chirped intermittently, and the gentle breeze carried the smell of damp soil and new growth. As he walked, John noticed an elderly man standing at the edge of a small field. The man wore a simple hat and carried a small satchel. He seemed oddly out of place, and yet there was something strangely familiar about his calm presence. Curiosity tugged at John, and he approached cautiously. "Hello," he said, keeping his voice polite but friendly. "Can I help you with something?" The old man turned, his eyes sharp but kind. "Ah, yes," he replied in a soft voice, with a faint accent that hinted at a faraway place. "I was hoping to speak to you, sir. You are John? Yes?" John blinked in surprise. He didn't know the man and had never seen him before. "Yes, I'm John," he said cautiously. "Do we know each other?" The man shook his head gently, smiling. "No, not yet. But I have something for you. Something important. A gift, you might say." John frowned slightly, unsure how to respond. He had heard of strangers offering strange gifts, and most often, it did not end well. "I'm sorry," he said carefully. "I don't think I—" "Please," the man interrupted, holding up a hand. "I understand your hesitation, but I insist. This is not a usual gift. It is a piece of land that will be useful to you, and it waits for someone who is responsible." John's eyebrows rose. A stranger offering land? It sounded absurd. Yet there was something about the man's calm confidence that made John pause. The way he spoke, so certain and gentle, made it difficult to dismiss him outright. "A piece of land?" John asked, his curiosity getting the better of him. "Where is it? And why me?" The old man looked around, as if the world itself were listening to their conversation. "It is not far from here," he said, "just past the woods, at the back of the town. As for why you, I cannot explain fully. Sometimes life chooses in ways we do not understand. The land needs someone who will care for it, and I believe that person is you." John felt a strange mixture of disbelief and intrigue. He had never thought of himself as the kind of man who would inherit land from a stranger. In fact, the idea seemed almost like a dream, something out of a storybook. And yet, standing there listening to the elderly man, he felt a spark of possibility. What could he do with a piece of land? A garden, a small cabin, or perhaps a quiet retreat where he could escape the noise of the world. "Can I see it?" John asked finally, unable to hide his curiosity. The old man's face lit up with a gentle smile. "Of course," he said. "Follow me." They walked in silence for a while, following a narrow path that wound through fields and patches of untamed forest. The old man moved slowly but steadily, seeming to know the terrain as if he had walked it countless times. John, though a little nervous, felt strangely comfortable. There was no rush, no pressure, only the quiet companionship of two people moving toward an unknown destination. After about 20 minutes, they arrived at a small clearing. John stopped in his tracks. The land was wild and overgrown, with tall grasses and shrubs that had grown unchecked for years. The soil was dark and rich, and the faint scent of earth filled the air. An old wooden fence ran along one side, broken in places, but it gave the impression that someone had once cared for this land long ago. "This is it," the old man said softly. "It has been waiting for you." John looked around, taking in the scene. On the surface, it seemed nothing special, just a patch of neglected land in the countryside. And yet there was a feeling about it, something he could not quite explain. It was as if the land itself were alive, quietly waiting for someone to come along and breathe life back into it. "It's a lot of work," John said honestly. "I don't even know where to start." The old man nodded. "Yes, it is. But sometimes work is not a burden. Sometimes it is an opportunity. Treat this land well, and it will give you more than you expect." John frowned slightly, still unsure of what to say. He wanted to ask questions: why the man had chosen him, how he had come to know about this land, but something about the way the old man spoke discouraged doubt. Instead, he simply nodded. "I'll think about it," he said. "Think quickly," the man replied, his eyes twinkling with a hint of urgency. "The land is patient, but opportunities are not. Come tomorrow, and I will give you the papers. Then it will be yours." With that, the old man turned and walked back along the path, leaving John standing alone in the clearing. John watched him go, a mixture of excitement and apprehension swirling inside him. Could this really be happening? A stranger? A gift? A piece of land waiting for him? It all seemed too surreal. That night, John could hardly sleep. He kept thinking about the land, imagining what it would be like to work there, to clear the overgrown grasses, to build something that was truly his own. He imagined the quiet mornings, the smell of fresh soil, the peacefulness of being away from the noise of the town. And yet, there was a tiny seed of doubt. What if it was a mistake? What if the land held secrets he could not imagine? By morning, John had made his decision. He would accept the gift. It was risky, yes, but it also felt like an adventure. An opportunity to step out of his ordinary life and into something new. He went to bed that night with a sense of anticipation, imagining the possibilities and feeling the quiet thrill of the unknown. The next day, true to his word, the old man returned. He handed John a small envelope containing papers that officially transferred the land to him. Take care of it," the man said simply. "And remember, the land will take care of you in return, if you respect it." John thanked him, still feeling a mixture of disbelief and gratitude. The old man nodded and walked away, disappearing down the country road as quietly as he had appeared. John stood there for a long time, staring at the land that was now officially his, feeling both excitement and a strange sense of responsibility. It was the beginning of a new chapter in John's life, one he could not yet fully understand. A simple walk along a country road had led to an extraordinary gift, a piece of land that seemed ordinary to anyone else but held a promise of something remarkable. He had no idea that the land had secrets of its own, secrets that would change his life in ways he could never have imagined. John took a deep breath, feeling the fresh spring air fill his lungs. He felt alive in a way he hadn't in years. The land was quiet, peaceful, and full of potential, and though he didn't know it yet, it was ready to reveal a story that no one could have expected. An extraordinary story hidden just beneath the surface. John spent the next few days preparing the land. He brought tools, cut back the overgrown grasses, and marked the boundaries with simple wooden stakes. The work was harder than he expected. Every step seemed to reveal another patch of weeds or fallen branches that needed attention. Yet, despite the hard work, John felt a strange joy in being there. For the first time in years, he felt that he was doing something meaningful, something that belonged entirely to him. The mornings were his favorite. He would wake early, even before the sun rose, and walk across the land as the light slowly spread over the fields. The cool air carried the scent of wet soil and new growth, and the distant sound of birdsong made the world feel peaceful. Each day he imagined turning a small corner into a vegetable garden, clearing a patch for flowers, and maybe even building a tiny cabin where he could spend weekends away from the busy town. The possibilities seemed endless. One afternoon, while clearing a particularly thick patch of weeds near the back of the property, John noticed something unusual. The ground felt slightly hollow beneath his feet, like there was empty space just below the surface. At first, he thought it was just a small animal burrow, but as he stepped closer and pressed his hand to the soil, he realized it was more than that. There was a strange resonance, a faint hollow sound that seemed to echo beneath the ground. John frowned, curiosity mixing with a little unease. He was no stranger to the outdoors, and knew the land well enough to recognize ordinary holes or roots. But this felt different. He stepped back and looked around, half expecting to see someone playing a prank. But the land was empty. Only the quiet rustle of trees and the distant hum of insects filled the air. Over the next few days, John returned to the same spot several times. Each time, the hollow feeling grew stronger, and he began to notice small signs that something might be hidden there. Tiny scuff marks in the soil, scratches on the roots of nearby plants, and a faint smell of something earthy but unusual. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it made John's mind race with possibilities. He knew he had to investigate further, but he didn't want to dig blindly. Instead, he started observing the area carefully. He tapped the ground gently with a stick, listened for echoes, and even pressed his ear to the soil. The hollow sound was unmistakable. Something was beneath the surface, something hidden for a long time. John's imagination ran wild. Was it an old root system? A buried storage cellar from decades ago? Or perhaps something else entirely? He couldn't be sure. The more he thought about it, the more he felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He had always been a man of reason, someone who liked facts over speculation. Yet standing there on his new land, he realized that he had stumbled upon a mystery that might change everything he thought he knew about this quiet property. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky with shades of orange and pink, John decided to take a closer look. He grabbed a small shovel and approached the hollow spot. The air was calm, almost eerily still, as if the land itself was holding its breath. John knelt down and carefully began to dig, brushing away soil slowly to avoid damaging whatever might lie beneath. It wasn't long before he hit something solid. His heart raced. The object felt like a large, flat stone, partially buried and weathered by time. John paused and ran his fingers along its edges. It was smooth in some places and rough in others, with faint scratches that looked almost intentional. He could hardly believe what he was holding. This was no ordinary rock. With careful effort, John lifted one corner of the stone and realized it was a slab covering something underneath. He pushed gently, and after a few moments, a small section shifted, revealing a narrow gap. He peered inside and was startled by what he saw: a dark, enclosed space just beneath the earth. It was like a tiny tunnel or entrance, and it seemed to go deeper than he could see. John's mind raced. He had never encountered anything like this before. The possibilities were endless, and yet he felt an instinctive caution. He could not know what was inside, who, or what, might be there, or how far the space extended. His rational mind warned him to step back, but his curiosity, stronger than any fear, pushed him forward. Over the next few days, John returned several times, gradually uncovering more of the entrance. He cleared soil and debris, revealing a staircase that descended into darkness. The steps were narrow and uneven, made of old stone that seemed worn by decades of use. John's excitement grew with every careful step. He had discovered something remarkable, something hidden for years, untouched by the outside world. One evening, armed with a flashlight and a sense of cautious determination, John decided to explore further. He stepped carefully down the stone stairs, feeling the cool, damp air brush against his face. The space was larger than he had imagined. Low ceilings forced him to bend slightly, and the walls were made of rough, solid earth, reinforced in places with wooden beams. The smell was earthy and faintly musty, a mixture of soil and time. As he moved deeper, John began to notice signs of habitation. A small pile of worn blankets lay in a corner, and nearby were cooking utensils that looked old but functional. Handwritten notes, carefully folded and tucked into a wooden box, hinted at daily routines. The space was modest, but it had been lived in with care. John realized he had stumbled upon a secret home, a hidden world beneath the land he now owned. His mind was filled with questions. Who had lived here? How long had they been hiding? Why had no one discovered this place before? And most importantly, were the people still here? The thought that someone might emerge at any moment made John both anxious and excited. He had uncovered something extraordinary, a hidden story that had remained a secret for years. Over the next few days, John approached the underground space with a mixture of caution and curiosity. He did not rush, knowing that patience was necessary. He studied the entrance, the stone steps, and the small chambers, trying to understand the layout. Every detail seemed significant, and every discovery deepened the mystery. The hidden home was more extensive than he had expected, with narrow tunnels leading to small rooms, each carefully arranged. John began leaving small items near the entrance, a lantern, a few simple tools, hoping to signal to anyone who might still be living there that he meant no harm. He wanted to establish a sense of trust, even if he did not yet know who or what he might encounter. The days passed and the quiet tension grew. John felt as though he was standing at the edge of a secret world, one that had remained hidden for decades, waiting for someone to notice. At night he would lie in bed and imagine the people who might live below. Were they a family? Travelers? People seeking safety from the outside world? His thoughts were filled with both excitement and empathy. He knew that discovery could be frightening, and he resolved to approach the situation with respect and care. One late afternoon, while preparing to explore again, John noticed a faint movement near the entrance. A shadow, small but unmistakable. His heart raced. He froze, unsure of what to do. Then, slowly, he saw a figure emerge from the darkness. A small child, wide-eyed and cautious, peeking out from the shadows. The child's expression was a mix of fear and curiosity, mirroring John's own feelings exactly. John took a deep breath and spoke, softly, in a calm voice. "Hello," he said gently. "I'm not here to hurt you. My name is John." The child blinked and retreated slightly, but did not run. It was a moment of silent understanding, a connection across the threshold between two worlds. At that moment, John realized the truth. He had discovered a family living underground, hidden from the world above. The realization filled him with awe, wonder, and a sense of responsibility. The land he had been given was not just a simple gift, it was a doorway into another life, another story, hidden beneath the earth. John knew that the next steps would require patience, care, and respect. He could not rush the family or force them into the light. He would have to earn their trust, understand their story, and help them if they wished to accept it. But for now, he was content simply to witness the beginning of a remarkable discovery, a hidden world, quietly thriving beneath the land he now called his own. And so, as the sun set and the first stars appeared in the evening sky, John stood at the edge of the underground entrance, filled with a mixture of wonder, anticipation, and humility. The land had secrets, he realized, and it had chosen him not just to care for it, but to witness the extraordinary lives hidden within it. The adventure was only beginning, and John knew that his life, and theirs, would never be the same. John had spent the past few days observing the underground entrance from a safe distance. He was careful, leaving small items nearby, a lantern, a few simple tools, even a small basket of food, hoping to show that he meant no harm. Each time he approached, he felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had discovered something extraordinary, but he knew that whatever lay beneath was not just a curiosity. It was a home, a hidden life, and perhaps even a family. The first sight of the child had changed everything. That small, cautious figure peeking from the shadows had stirred a deep sense of responsibility in John. He realized that he could not simply explore the tunnels as if they were an abandoned cellar. There were people here, living their lives quietly and carefully, and their trust had to be earned. He felt a strange combination of respect, fear, and wonder. On a bright, crisp morning, John approached the entrance again, this time more slowly, with careful steps that did not disturb the loose soil around the opening. The child was not visible this time, but John left a small lantern lit near the entrance, hoping it would signal his peaceful intentions. He took a deep breath and whispered softly, "I won't hurt you. I just want to meet you." His words felt strange in the quiet morning air, but they were sincere. For hours he waited, watching the shadows and listening to the faint sounds of life below. Every tiny noise, the scuff of feet on the stone steps, the rustle of movement in the tunnels, made his heart race. He wondered how many people lived here, how long they had been hidden, and what their story might be. He imagined the family surviving underground, maintaining their own little world beneath the earth, and he felt a mixture of admiration and concern. Finally, in the late afternoon, movement appeared. This time it was not a child alone. An older woman emerged first, her eyes wide and cautious. She was small and frail-looking, yet there was a quiet strength in the way she carried herself. Behind her came the child, and then a man, slightly taller and broader, who watched John carefully but without aggression. They paused at the edge of the entrance, uncertain whether to step further into the light. John kept his hands visible, moving slowly. "Hello," he said gently. "My name is John. I live above, on this land. I saw the entrance, and I want to meet you, but only if you feel safe." He kept his voice calm, steady, and patient. The words hung in the air, and for a long moment there was no response. Then the woman took a small step forward. "You saw us?" she asked quietly, her accent soft but clear. Her eyes were cautious, wary but not hostile. The man behind her nodded slightly, and the child clutched the woman's hand, peeking out curiously. John nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. I didn't mean to disturb you. I only wanted to know if you were safe. I want to help, if you'll let me. The woman hesitated, studying him carefully. Why? Would you help us? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. John smiled gently, trying to convey trust. Because no one should have to hide from the world, he said, and because I believe everyone deserves safety and kindness. I can't imagine what it must be like to live hidden like this. The family looked at one another. It was clear that they were considering his words carefully. Finally, the woman nodded slowly. We will come out, she said. But slowly. We must be sure you are safe. John felt a surge of relief and excitement. He stepped back slightly, giving them space. The woman moved forward first, followed by the man, and then the child. They emerged fully into the light, their faces pale from lack of sun but filled with cautious curiosity. The family was small, just 4 members, but they seemed closely bonded, united by years of secrecy and survival. The first moments were quiet. No one spoke much, but John could feel the tension and curiosity mixing in the air. The child, now fully visible, looked at him with wide, cautious eyes. John knelt slightly, lowering himself to appear less threatening. It's okay, he said softly. You are safe here. I promise. The child took a small step forward, still clutching the woman's hand, and then another, until curiosity overcame fear. Over the next few hours, John and the family began to communicate more freely. Language was not a barrier. They spoke Chinese among themselves, and the woman, who introduced herself as May, spoke enough English to explain their situation in simple words. The family had fled China decades earlier, seeking safety and privacy. They had lived in hiding ever since, first in abandoned places, and then here, underground on this very land. Their life had been quiet and hidden, a delicate balance of survival and secrecy. John listened intently, feeling a mixture of awe and compassion. He realized how brave and resourceful the family had been, creating a life in such unusual circumstances. They had built their home with care, arranging small rooms, storing food safely, and maintaining the tunnels as best they could. Each detail of their underground life revealed resilience, creativity, and a deep bond between family members. As the day turned into evening, John offered simple gestures of friendship: food, clean water, and blankets. The family accepted cautiously, still unsure whether to trust him fully. May explained that they had avoided contact with the outside world for so long that even small interactions were intimidating. But John's calm and patient demeanor helped ease their fears. They began to open up, sharing small stories of life above ground before they had gone into hiding, and of the challenges of living underground for so many years. John realized that this encounter was more than just a discovery. It was a connection between 2 worlds: the ordinary life he had known and the hidden life the family had maintained. He felt honored to be trusted, and he promised himself to protect their privacy and safety. For the family, this was a moment of vulnerability, a rare chance to be seen without fear. And for John, it was a profound reminder of courage, resilience, and the quiet strength of human beings living in difficult circumstances. The evening grew darker, and the family invited John to sit with them near the entrance. The child, shy but curious, began to ask questions in broken English, pointing at John's hands and the tools he had brought. John laughed softly, answering each question patiently. He realized that trust was growing slowly, like a plant nurtured over time, and that patience was the key to building a true connection. As they shared stories and simple meals, John noticed small details about their underground life: the careful storage of food, the tiny workspace for writing, and the makeshift beds that had been arranged for comfort. Each detail reflected careful planning and a deep understanding of survival. He felt a mixture of admiration and respect. These people had created a home in conditions most could not imagine, and yet they had maintained dignity, routine, and warmth. Before leaving that evening, John made a simple promise. "I will return," he said gently. "I want to help you, but only in ways you are comfortable with. I won't rush anything." May nodded, her expression softening. We will see," she said. "We are cautious, but you are kind." The child smiled faintly, the first sign of ease in days, and John felt a warmth in his heart that he could not describe. As John walked back to his own home that night, the sun had set completely, and the sky was filled with stars. He thought about the extraordinary experience of the day, the hidden world beneath the land, the cautious family, and the delicate trust he had begun to earn. His life had changed in ways he could not yet fully understand. The land, which had seemed ordinary when he first saw it, now held secrets, life, and a story that few could imagine. John knew that this was only the beginning. The family had been hidden for decades, and their trust had to be earned slowly. But he also knew that he had found something rare and precious, a chance to witness courage, resilience, and the strength of a family surviving against the odds. He felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the land, but for the opportunity to connect with these remarkable people. That night, as he lay in bed, John thought about the tunnels beneath the earth and the family who lived there. He realized that their story was more than survival. It was a testament to human determination, love, and the desire to protect one's own. The thought filled him with a sense of awe and humility. He knew that life had handed him an extraordinary gift, a land with a secret, and a family with a story waiting to be told. John drifted to sleep, his mind filled with images of the underground home, the cautious faces of the family, and the bright eyes of the child who had dared to peek into the world above. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and perhaps a deeper understanding of this hidden world. But for now, he was content to simply know that he had met something extraordinary, an entire life carefully concealed beneath the earth, and a family brave enough to survive in silence. And so, as the night stretched on, John dreamed of the tunnels, the hidden rooms, and the family who had welcomed him, cautiously but with hope. He realized that his life and theirs would never be the same. The discovery had changed everything, and the journey of understanding, trust, and connection was just beginning. Over the next few days, John visited the underground entrance more frequently, always with patience and care. He never rushed the family, and he always kept his distance at first, allowing them to feel comfortable and safe in their hidden world. May, the woman, was cautious but slowly began to trust him more. The man, who introduced himself as Liang, remained watchful, observing every gesture and word, while the child, whose name was Lian, grew more curious and bold with each meeting. One bright morning, John brought a few simple gifts: fresh bread, a bottle of water, and some vegetables from his own garden. He set them gently near the entrance, stepping back to let the family come forward. May's eyes softened as she looked at the items, and Liang's face lit up with quiet excitement. Even Liang's stern expression eased slightly. John smiled, realizing that small gestures of care were beginning to bridge the gap between their worlds.
"Thank you," May said softly, her English careful but clear.
"It is good." Leanne giggled quietly, pointing to the bread and saying, "Yummy." John laughed softly, feeling a warmth he had not known in years. This simple exchange felt extraordinary, as if a new world had opened up for him, a world that had existed quietly, hidden beneath the earth for decades. After a few days of these careful visits, May and Liang invited John to come slightly closer.
You may come inside, May said one morning, her voice tinged with hesitation and trust.
But slowly, we are cautious. John nodded, understanding completely. He stepped carefully into the entrance, feeling the cool, earthy air brush his face. The tunnels were larger than he had imagined, with narrow corridors leading to small, well-kept rooms. Each area seemed to have a purpose, with simple furniture, cooking spaces, and sleeping areas. As John moved further inside, May began to share their story. We came from China," she said quietly, her voice carrying a mixture of sadness and pride. "Many years ago, our life was dangerous. We had to leave. We wanted safety, peace." Liang added a few words, his voice steady.
We lived
Hidden. Always careful. No one could know. John listened intently, struck by the courage and resilience in their words. It was hard to imagine living in secrecy for so long, yet here they were, surviving quietly beneath the earth. May continued, pointing to small objects carefully arranged in the room.
Everything we have is important. We cannot lose.
We hide, all carefully. She gestured to small containers, tools, and handwritten notes. John realized that their underground life was not just survival. It was a carefully organized world, built with love, care, and remarkable ingenuity. Every detail reflected decades of planning, patience, and resourcefulness. Leanne, the child, shyly approached John with a small handmade toy. "For you," he said softly, holding it out. John knelt and accepted it gently. "Thank you, Leanne." "It's beautiful," he said sincerely. Leanne's face lit up with a shy smile, and John felt a deep sense of connection. These simple gestures of trust were extraordinary in their own way, building bonds stronger than words alone.
Over the following weeks, John began helping the family in small, careful ways.
He brought extra food, blankets, and supplies, always ensuring that his presence was comforting, not intrusive. He helped reinforce the underground walls, adding small wooden beams where needed, and cleaned and organized areas that had become cluttered over time. Each small task was done with patience, and each day, trust grew stronger between them. During one visit, May invited John to sit with her and Liang in a small room near the back of the tunnels.
We
"We want to tell more," she said, her voice steady but soft. You are kind. You will understand." John nodded, feeling honored by the invitation. May began to recount the story of their life in China, of the struggles that had forced them to flee, and of the decisions that had led them to live underground for safety. Liang added details explaining how they had managed food, water, and daily life in secrecy. John listened with awe. The story was filled with hardship, courage, and love. The family had faced dangers and challenges that most people could not imagine, yet they had persevered. They had created a home underground, maintaining routines, schooling Leon in basic reading and writing, and keeping their spirits alive through stories, small celebrations, and quiet moments of joy. John realized that their lives were extraordinary, not just because of the circumstances, but because of the human strength and ingenuity they displayed every day. As the afternoon sunlight filtered through small cracks in the earth, John asked cautiously, "Have you ever wanted to come above ground, to see the world outside?" May's eyes softened with a mixture of longing and caution. Sometimes
Yes, but
dangerous. People not always. We survive here. Liang nodded. We are safe here. Life hidden. But we dream sometimes. John felt a profound respect for their courage. They had sacrificed freedom for safety, yet their spirits remained unbroken. Over time, John's presence became a source of comfort and connection for the family. He shared stories of his life above ground, describing small pleasures, the changing seasons, and simple joys that seemed ordinary to him but extraordinary to them. In return, the family shared knowledge of survival, careful planning, and resourcefulness. They taught John about underground living, the ways they managed food and water, and how they maintained warmth and safety in a world without sunlight. One evening, as John helped repair a small wooden wall, Leanne ran up to him, holding a notebook. We draw, the child said proudly. Show you? John smiled warmly. Leon opened the notebook to reveal drawings of the tunnels, their furniture, and the world above ground as imagined through stories. The sketches were simple but detailed, filled with creativity and imagination. John realized that even in secrecy, the child's spirit and curiosity thrived, nurtured by love and care. May watched quietly, her eyes soft. We teach small things, she said. We hope, Leon, knows world, safe, kind. Someday. John felt a deep sense of responsibility. He wanted to help this family, to ensure that their hidden world remained safe, but he also knew that their trust and independence were precious. He resolved to act gently, always respecting their space and decisions. As days turned into weeks, John's relationship with the family deepened. They laughed together, shared meals, and exchanged stories. Trust had grown into a quiet bond, built on respect, patience, and understanding. John learned that the family's life underground was not just about survival. It was about love, connection, and resilience. Each day revealed new insights into their resourcefulness and ingenuity, and John admired their courage more than words could express. One afternoon, while helping rearrange supplies, May spoke quietly. You make life easier, she said. Not just food, tools, hope. We thank you. John smiled gently, feeling a mixture of gratitude and humility. I'm happy to help, he said sincerely. You have done so much already. I just want to make sure your lives are a little safer. The simplicity and sincerity of the exchange struck John deeply. Over time, John realized that this experience had changed him. He had entered the land thinking of a simple gift, a patch of earth, a place to call his own. But he had discovered a world of courage, resilience, and quiet strength. The family had shown him a perspective he could never have imagined, a life of careful planning, hidden survival, and profound love in the face of isolation. Each day with them reminded him of human ingenuity and the quiet bravery of ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances. By the end of the month, John's visits had become routine, but never ordinary. Each meeting revealed new details, new small joys, and new challenges. The family had slowly accepted him into their world, and he had come to understand the extraordinary care and attention they put into every aspect of life underground. Their story was no longer just hidden. It had become a shared journey, with John as a witness, friend, and helper. One evening, as the sky darkened and stars began to twinkle above, John stood near the entrance and looked at the tunnels stretching into the earth. He realized that the family story was more than survival. It was a testament to human courage, ingenuity, and love. He knew that the journey was far from over, but he also understood that he had found something precious, a hidden world of life, resilience, and hope, quietly thriving beneath the land he had been given. And as he left that night, John felt a deep sense of connection. The family had shared their lives with him, trusted him, and allowed him into their hidden world. He knew that his responsibility was not just to protect the land, but to honor the story of these extraordinary people and the life they had built underground. It was a gift beyond anything he had imagined, a gift of trust, courage, and human connection that would remain with him forever. Over the weeks that followed, John's relationship with the family grew stronger. Every visit, he brought small improvements to their underground home. A few extra blankets for warmth, a lantern that worked better than the old ones, and some fresh vegetables and bread. He reinforced the walls where the soil had weakened and helped clean the tunnels so the air would feel fresher. Each task, though simple, mattered greatly to the family. Every small effort showed them that the world above could be kind, and that trust could exist outside the hidden walls they had lived behind for so long. The family began to share more of themselves with John. May taught him about the clever ways they had managed light, warmth, and water in the tunnels. Liang showed John the intricate storage system they had created, keeping food safe and dry in small underground rooms. Even Leanne, the child, began to explain simple routines they followed every day, like small exercises to stay healthy, the stories they told each other, and how they celebrated birthdays in secret. John listened with fascination and deep respect. He realized that survival was only one part of their story. The real marvel was how they had preserved their humanity and joy despite living in isolation. One afternoon, John decided it was time to help the family expand a little. The tunnels were cramped, and he had noticed a small section of the land above that could be cleared without drawing attention. He carefully explained his plan to May and Liang, who listened cautiously.
We must be careful, May said.
But maybe... okay. Liang nodded silently, his eyes reflecting both worry and hope. John reassured them. We will do it slowly, together. Nothing rushed, nothing unsafe. Just enough space to make life easier. Over several days, John worked with the family to carefully clear part of the land above, digging small pits to ventilate the tunnels, and creating a tiny outdoor space that would remain private but allow fresh air and sunlight to reach part of their home. The family worked alongside him cautiously but steadily. They laughed quietly when dirt fell accidentally, and Leanne ran ahead to help carry small tools, his excitement evident. John felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He was not just improving the land. He was helping a family regain small freedoms, small joys that they had been missing for decades. One evening after a long day of work, the family gathered near the entrance. The lanterns cast warm, flickering light across the walls, and the smell of fresh bread John had brought filled the air. May spoke softly. We never had this. Light, air, kindness, together. Her words were simple, but full of meaning. Liang added, You make life better. Not just safe, better. John felt a lump in his throat. He had come to help, but he realized that in many ways the family had helped him too, teaching him patience, empathy, and the importance of human connection. Over time, John began to understand more deeply the sacrifices the family had made to survive underground. They had given up the world above, the sunlight, and the open spaces that most people took for granted. They had created a life hidden from everyone, not out of choice, but out of necessity. Yet they had preserved love, laughter, and hope within their small rooms and tunnels. John was awed by their courage. He knew he could never fully understand their experiences, but he could honor them, protect them, and share in the simple joys they allowed him to witness. As the days turned into weeks, John and the family began to establish routines that combined the safety of their underground home with the small freedoms above ground. They spent mornings arranging the newly cleared outdoor area, planting herbs and vegetables, and enjoying small bursts of sunlight that filtered down into the tunnels. Leanne laughed as he felt the warmth on his face, something he had rarely experienced before. John smiled, feeling a mixture of joy and humility. The family was not just surviving, they were beginning to thrive, slowly and carefully, with him as their ally. One day, May confided in John about the fears that had haunted them for years. "We afraid," she said quietly, her voice trembling slightly. "People do not understand. Dangerous if..." John nodded, understanding the depth of their fear. "I know," he said gently, "but you are safe. I will not let anyone harm you, and together we can make life easier and better without risking safety." May's eyes softened, and she reached out to touch his hand briefly, a gesture of trust that spoke louder than words. As the weeks continued, John realized that the land itself had become more than a gift. It was a bridge between two worlds. Above ground, it appeared ordinary, quiet, and calm, but beneath the surface, it held a hidden story of courage, survival, and resilience. John felt honored to witness this story firsthand, and he resolved to protect it. He began documenting small details, not to expose the family to danger, but to remember the lessons they were teaching him about life, trust, and human strength. One afternoon, while helping Leanne tend to a small patch of vegetables, John reflected on the extraordinary journey that had begun with a simple walk along a country road. He remembered the day the stranger had given him the land, and he realized that the gift had been far greater than he had imagined. It had given him a chance to witness resilience, courage, and love in a form he had never known. It had taught him patience, humility, and the quiet power of trust. Evenings became moments of connection. The family and John would sit near the entrance, sharing stories, laughing quietly, and enjoying simple meals together. Leanne would draw pictures, May would recount small tales from the past, and Liang would explain how they had survived challenges long before John had arrived. These moments were small, yet powerful. They reminded John that life was not just about survival, but about connection, care, and the courage to keep moving forward, even in the darkest times. John also began to notice changes in himself. He had come to the land seeking something new, perhaps a project, a retreat, or even just an escape from his ordinary life. What he found instead was a deeper understanding of humanity. He saw how much strength ordinary people could have when they loved and cared for one another. He learned the value of patience, the importance of small gestures, and the profound effect of kindness in the lives of others. One evening, as the family gathered around a small lantern, May spoke softly. We never thought life could be this," she said. "Safe, kind, together." Lian leaned against her, smiling faintly, and Liang nodded silently. John felt a wave of emotion wash over him. The journey had started with a gift of land, but it had grown into something far greater, a shared life, a bond of trust, and a story of courage and hope that would remain with him forever. John realized that he could never take credit for what had been accomplished. The family had survived, thrived, and maintained their dignity long before he arrived. But he could honor their story, protect their world, and help them enjoy small freedoms that had once seemed impossible. And in doing so, he had discovered the true meaning of generosity, empathy, and human connection. As the sun began to set each evening, casting golden light across the fields above, John often stood at the entrance of the tunnels, looking down at the small world below. He could hear laughter, the soft voice of May, the careful movements of Leon, and the playful chatter of Leon. The land had become a place of life, hope, and renewal. John felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the land itself, but for the extraordinary people who had shared their hidden lives with him. Months passed, and the family's life slowly expanded in small, careful ways. The tunnels were safer and more comfortable, and the outdoor space above allowed glimpses of sunlight, fresh air, and small gardens. Leon ran freely in the tiny space, laughing and exploring. May and Leon moved with confidence, knowing that John's presence brought safety and care without intrusion. And John, for his part, had become a guardian, a friend, and a witness to a life few could imagine, let alone understand. One night, as John walked back to his own home, he reflected on the journey he had taken. A simple gift of land had led him to a hidden world, a family living with courage and dignity underground, and a story that would stay with him forever. He realized that life's true treasures were not possessions, money, or fame, but trust, resilience, and human connection. The family had taught him lessons he could never have learned elsewhere, and he felt honored to be part of their story, even in a small way. The next morning, John returned to the land, bringing fresh bread and water as usual. He knelt near the entrance and spoke softly. "Good morning. How are you today?" Leanne ran forward with a bright smile. May nodded warmly, and Leon gave a quiet, approving glance. John felt a sense of fulfillment and peace. The hidden family had become part of his life, and he knew that together they had created something extraordinary, a life filled with courage, trust, and quiet joy. And as he looked at the sun rising over the fields, John realized that the gift of land had been more than a plot of earth. It had been an opportunity to witness the incredible strength of the human spirit, the resilience of a family, and the power of kindness. The tunnels below, once hidden and secret, were now alive with hope and laughter. John knew that life above ground and life below had merged in the most extraordinary way, and that the lessons he had learned would stay with him forever. In the end, John understood the truth that the stranger had hinted at when he gave him the land. Life's greatest gifts are not always obvious, and the most remarkable stories are often hidden in plain sight. By caring for the land, he had uncovered a world of courage, love, and human resilience. By earning the trust of the family, he had learned the true meaning of generosity and connection. And by witnessing their hidden life, he had discovered that even in the most unexpected places, hope, joy, and humanity could thrive.